A man who reaches his 40s carries more than age. He carries the accumulated gravity of every decision that shaped him, every ambition that survived collapse, every disappointment that refined his judgment, and every scar that silently sharpened his instincts. He is no longer the impulsive creature who believes attraction is enough to anchor a kingdom. He becomes, whether he admits it or not, a strategist of his own existence. And Machiavelli would tell him this plainly. A ruler must never bind his fate to forces he cannot predict, cannot control, and cannot negotiate with from a position of strength. Yet this is exactly what many older men do when they chase younger women who have not lived enough life to understand the weight of consequence. The illusion is seductive. Youth promises vitality, admiration, excitement, the feeling of still being desired by a world that once revolved around your potential. It offers a man a temporary antidote to the quiet fear of aging. And while Machiavelli would never condemn the pursuit of pleasure, he would warn that pleasure becomes a threat the moment it blinds a man to the true dynamics of power. A younger woman may admire his maturity, his stability, his experience, but admiration is not loyalty, and attraction is not alliance. She stands in a different season of life, driven by different incentives, hungry for different outcomes, shaped by different pressures that he no longer feels. Machiavelli taught that misalignment of interests destroys more empires than open enemies ever could. When a man over 40 enters a relationship with a much younger woman, he often imagines himself the guiding force, the wiser mind, the anchor in the storm. What he forgets is that youth operates with a volatility that defies even the sharpest strategist. Younger women live in a world of rapidly shifting desires, unstable friendships, developing identities, and evolving ambitions. To tie your emotional stability to someone in a state of metamorphosis places you at the mercy of variables you cannot forecast. What she wants today may evaporate tomorrow. What fascinates her now may bore her in weeks, and the man who built decades of order must suddenly respond to storms he never invited. Older men often underestimate this because they believe age grants them an advantage. In truth, it becomes a liability. A younger woman, consciously or not, possesses leverage that comes from time itself. She can restart her life at any moment with minimal cost, whereas he must calculate the fallout of every disruption. If the relationship fractures, he loses resources, emotional bandwidth, and years he cannot replace. She walks away with her future intact. He walks away with more past than future, wondering how he allowed his stability to be traded for fleeting validation. Machiavelli would ask a man one piercing question: does this relationship strengthen your sovereignty or weaken it? A younger woman's world often pulls him into environments he abandoned long ago. Social circles that thrive on chaos, expectations that drain energy, insecurities he thought he had mastered. He begins performing masculinity instead of embodying it. He becomes preoccupied with maintaining relevance, proving attractiveness, denying mortality. Instead of leading his life from a position of authority, he becomes a participant in a game he did not design. A ruler who pursues the illusion of power loses the real kind, and nothing strips a man faster than competing with time he cannot beat. There is also a deeper psychological trap. Younger women may admire the certainty of an older man, but many eventually resent the structure he brings. To a younger mind, structure feels like restriction. Advice feels like criticism. Stability feels like routine. What he offers as wisdom, she may interpret as control. What he intends as protection, she may experience as condescension. The very traits that make an older man attractive in the beginning become the traits that suffocate the relationship in the end. And he, bewildered by her reversal, learns a cruel lesson. You cannot negotiate with someone who has not yet realized what they truly want. Machiavelli understood that human beings are loyal only to the needs that dominate them. A woman in her 20s is loyal to exploration, to opportunity, to emotional experimentation, to self-construction. A man in his 40s is loyal to peace, to purpose, to legacy, to the consolidation of his life's work. These loyalties do not merge, they collide. And when they collide, the older man pays the heavier price because he has more at stake and less time to recover from misalignment. Even if the relationship begins with harmony, the trajectories eventually diverge. She is climbing upward into identity. He is refining downward into essence. Her world expands. His world deepens. Her desires multiply. His desires simplify. She seeks novelty. He seeks meaning. The longer these opposite forces run parallel, the more violently they separate when the imbalance becomes undeniable. And Machiavelli would say that a wise man never enters a bond that requires constant justification to survive. A bond that cannot survive silence, aging, or evolving priorities is not a union. It is a negotiation doomed by incompatible timelines. Many older men cling to youthful partners because they fear fading relevance. But Machiavelli would argue that relevance declines fastest in the hearts of those who chase it. When a man over 40 orbits a younger woman's world, he becomes a guest in a kingdom he should be ruling. He adopts customs that are not his. He makes sacrifices that distort his character. He adopts insecurities that do not belong to him. And the younger woman, seeing him contort himself to maintain her attention, loses the admiration that drew her in the first place. A man does not maintain power by bending to desire. He maintains power by shaping the terms of desire itself. And the man who dates younger women often finds himself adjusting his lifestyle, pace, expectations, and emotional rhythm just to keep the illusion intact. This slowly erodes the very foundation of his authority. Machiavelli would warn him that self-betrayal is the first step towards political ruin, and romantic dynamics are no different. The tragedy is not that younger women are malicious. The tragedy is that they are still unfolding, still discovering, still reshaping themselves. They are not built to offer the type of enduring alliance a man with decades of life behind him requires. They shouldn't be expected to. They are not failing him. They are simply following their nature. The failure occurs when he refuses to follow his own. A man over 40 should seek someone whose mind has endured its winters, someone who understands the weight of promises, someone who can distinguish between infatuation and allegiance. He should align with a woman who recognizes the value of peace, who honors the gravity of experience, who does not treat relationships as experiments, but as fortresses built brick by intentional brick. That is the kind of union Machiavelli would advise a ruler to pursue, one based on mutual sovereignty rather than asymmetrical dependence. When a man dates much younger women, he risks becoming a character in their coming-of-age story rather than the author of his own legacy. And no strategist, no philosopher, no ruler worth his crown would ever allow his life to become a subplot in someone else's transformation. In the end, Machiavelli would not moralize. He would simply warn, choose alliances that protect your kingdom, not ones that drain it. Youth may flatter the ego, but compatibility fortifies the throne. A man over 40 has too much wisdom to gamble, too much history to rewrite, too much to lose in the hands of someone who has not yet learned what they hold. That is why the older man must resist the seduction of youth and seek the power of alignment instead. Because the greatest tragedy is not losing a younger woman. The greatest tragedy is losing yourself while trying to keep her.